Welcome to the deep dive. If you are operating in the digital landscape right now, you know we are just drowning in information. The goal isn't just to produce content anymore, it's to produce effective, measurable, and consistent content and to do it at scale. And you, the listener, you need the system, you need that strategic blueprint that really makes the difference. That is precisely what we are going to do today. We are pulling back the curtain on the complete systematic framework that transforms AI content generation from this messy, hit or miss thing into a predictable strategic business operation. This isn't about finding some single magic prompt. It's about building a fully integrated AI-augmented content system. Our mission today is an in-depth exploration we are calling Inside the Prompt Engineering System Top Content Teams Use.
It really is the evolution of the content game. The best teams have built a rigorous operational model that, it shifts them away from just reactive publishing. They're moving into strategic, high-velocity output. We've basically synthesized this whole structure into 5 key pillars that you have to master to get that consistency and scale. It starts with foundation setup, then crafting effective prompts, content generation workflows, optimization and measurement, and finally, continuous improvement. And understanding how all 5 of these pillars connect, well, that's the real deep dive.
Okay, let's unpack this. We always want to jump straight to the prompt box, but you're saying top teams know that consistency starts way, way before that. What are the critical setup steps they're taking to make sure when the AI starts writing, it actually sounds like the brand?
The first, and it's completely non-negotiable,
Yeah.
is documenting the brand voice DNA.
Brand voice DNA.
Yeah, this is far more detailed than just saying, we're friendly and witty. It's a formalized framework that codifies all the nuance. It specifies stylistic constraints, preferred vocabulary, and, this is critical, a list of forbidden phrases.
Forbidden phrases. Okay, give me an example. What does that look like in practice? Why is having that specific list so important?
Well, because AI loves corporate jargon. It just defaults to it.
Right.
So if your brand stands for authentic, plain speech, you have to explicitly forbid the AI from using terms like synergy, low-hanging fruit, circle back, all of that. Even overused marketing terms like game-changing solutions. Without that explicit guardrail, the AI's language models will just fall back on the most common and therefore the most generic ways of communicating. The brand voice DNA stops that.
That makes so much sense. It's a risk mitigation tool against just sounding mediocre. But that consistent voice needs consistent target, right?
Yeah.
How do teams make sure the content actually lands with the right person?
That's the second step, building robust audience persona profiles. And we're not talking about simple age and income demographics here.
No.
These profiles have to be data-driven. They focus on deep psychological elements. You need to give the AI the audience's core pain points, the specific trigger events that cause them to look for a solution, and even the standard objection phrases they use.
Yeah, so if the brand voice DNA locks down the how of the content, the persona profiles are locking down the why. Why should the reader even care? You're feeding the AI context that goes so far beyond just the topic itself.
Exactly. You're giving it the emotional stakes. If the AI knows the trigger event is a sudden unexpected tax notification, the whole tone and urgency of the content changes completely compared to just writing about tax best practices.
Okay, so they start generating these really high-quality outputs. They're going to find prompts that are just gold. How do they stop that knowledge from getting lost in someone's Slack history?
That requires a centralized prompt library repository. And this is where the technical complexity really starts to ramp up. It's not just storage. It's a whole system. It has to have version control, advanced tagging. A big challenge for sophisticated users is linking these successful prompts directly to specific LLM models or APIs, and making sure that a gold standard prompt doesn't suddenly experience prompt drift when the model gets an update.
That's a huge operational friction point that most people miss. You have to manage the prompt like you manage code.
You do. And finally, you absolutely cannot automate oversight. Establishing structured quality control workflows with mandatory human checkpoints is essential. And these checkpoints are always tiered based on the content risk. A routine social media post might just need a quick verification pass.
But something bigger.
But a piece of thought leadership with complex financial claims, that has to go through high-level human validation for accuracy, legal alignment, and brand philosophy.
Okay, the foundation is set, the DNA is documented, the audience is understood. Now here's where it gets really interesting. How do we structure the actual instructions to guarantee predictable, high-quality results every single time? To minimize having to rerun the prompt over and over.
Top teams rely on something that's been called the Goldilocks prompt formula. It's basically a risk mitigation strategy. It moves way past simple requests and structures every single prompt with 5 essential non-negotiable elements to make sure the output is just right.
Just right. Not too hot, not too cold. What are those 5 crucial
They
elements?
are 1, objective, which is the crystal clear purpose. 2 is context, so the background, the persona details we just talked about. 3 is voice, the defined tone from the brand DNA. 4 is structure, the mandatory layout like headings or list types. And 5, constraints, hard boundaries, things to strictly avoid. If you leave even one of those vague, you're pretty much guaranteed inconsistent output.
That is a huge step up from just typing, write this professionally. How do teams get that granular control over the voice without, writing a novel of instructions every time?
Through what they call tone dials. Instead of just relying on the AI to guess what authoritative means, you provide a measurable scale.
A scale.
Yeah, you might specify a formality level from 1 to 5. 1 is a casual Slack message, 5 is an academic white paper. You also set parameters for energy intensity, humor appropriateness, authority positioning. It gives the AI measurable settings to adjust. And another hugely powerful tool is the style primer. Many teams will include 2 or 3 sample paragraphs of their best performing content right there in the prompt. This lets the AI immediately pattern match against a proven style. It just cuts through the ambiguity of describing a style by giving it a working example to copy.
That seems incredibly effective. It's like showing the AI a reference photo instead of just trying to describe the portrait you want.
Precisely. And for big campaigns, say a new product launch with lots of different content pieces, teams rely on chained prompting techniques. This connects related prompts through a shared evolving context.
Give us a concrete example of that flow. How does that chain actually work in practice?
Sure. Imagine a new content sprint. The first prompt generates a whole inventory of semantic keyword clusters and long-tail phrases. The second prompt then takes those exact clusters and uses them to develop 5 different narrative angles for a blog series. Then the third prompt takes the winning narrative angle and suggests specific distribution formats, maybe a carousel for LinkedIn, a short script for a voice agent, all of it ensuring every single piece is strategically coherent.
So once the prompts are perfected and chained, the question shifts to implementation. How do they integrate all this into the actual content pipeline? From the spark of an idea to the final polished piece, this is the engine room, right? Where speed meets structure.
And the engine always starts with listening. The most strategic teams, they set up an AI listening stack.
A listening stack.
Yeah, this means connecting raw, unfiltered data sources. Think niche Reddit forums, detailed product reviews, competitor Q&A logs, directly to AI processing tools. This is continuously gathering real-time audience insights. It ensures the strategy is informed by actual, current user conversations, not some outdated survey.
So the AI isn't just generating the content, it's actually identifying the market demand for it first.
It is. And this data then feeds a systematic ideation pipeline. This usually has 4 stages. First, the signal feeding from that listening stack. Second, the AI does raw idea generation based on those identified pain points. Third, all those ideas are clustered and tagged by funnel stage and persona. And fourth, and this is critical, they score and schedule the ideas based on their potential business impact, which connects right back to those North Star metrics we'll talk about.
That brings us to editing. AI is fast, but that human oversight is so crucial. If the goal is speed, how do they maintain quality without just slowing the whole process down to a crawl?
They enforce what's called the 4-pass editing workflow. It's a systematic revision process designed for maximum velocity while minimizing errors. Think of it like a meticulous relay race.
Okay, tell us about the passes.
Pass 1 is the structure pass. The focus is 100% on flow, logical headings, and making sure that Goldilocks structure was followed. Pass 2 is the clarity pass, where you're aggressively targeting jargon, simplifying language, making sure it's digestible. Pass 3 is the voice pass, checking brand consistency against the DNA and the style primer. And the crucial final step, Pass 4, is the proof pass. That's grammar, final fact verification, and confirming all the rules were followed. If you skip one, you will pay for it later.
That rigor is necessary, but I can already hear people asking, does a 4-pass system actually slow things down too much for, say, a breaking news cycle? It sounds like a natural point of friction.
It absolutely creates friction. That's why the checkpoints have to be clearly defined and the human reviewers have to be specialized. But the trade-off is this: accepting the slightly slower speed of that system versus the catastrophic brand damage of publishing high-velocity content that's factually incorrect or totally off-brand. Consistency wins over pure speed in the long run.
And once they have a big, high-value piece of content, like a major report, How do they get maximum leverage from it across every channel?
That's handled by a sophisticated content atomization system. Prompts are specifically engineered to extract standalone, channel-native insights from that longer content.
So like quotes for X or short facts for Instagram stories.
Exactly. Pull out stats for email newsletters. The key is making sure those smaller pieces maintain that strategic coherence and the established brand voice everywhere they appear.
Generating content is one thing, but making sure it actually drives measurable business results. That's the whole point. So what frameworks make sure the AI output isn't just fast, but actually effective?
Optimization has to be prompt-driven. They develop specific SEO optimization prompts. These prompts don't just ask the AI to add keywords. They analyze the text for keyword gaps, they suggest semantic variations to build deep topical relevance, and they recommend strategic placements for those terms. And they do all of that while demanding the output maintains the readability and brand voice we already established.
And what about trust? That's a huge issue right now.
Oh, it's absolutely vital. This is why they implement robust fact verification protocols. These prompts are designed to analyze every single factual claim within the content and, surprisingly, assign a confidence rating to each claim.
Wait, a confidence rating? Aren't you basically asking the AI to self-report its own errors? How do we know that rating itself is reliable? I mean, couldn't the AI just be overconfident about a hallucination?
That is the critical tension point. And you're right, the confidence rating isn't a replacement for human verification. It's an automated flag. The rating system helps the human reviewer prioritize their time. If the AI flags a claim with a low confidence rating, that requires mandatory external human verification and source citation. It's a risk management system built right into the process.
That's smart. So, moving away from vanity metrics then, how do we measure the true business impact of this whole complex system? Clicks and views just aren't enough anymore.
They're not. You move past those easily manipulated metrics by documenting and tracking North Star metrics that connect directly to major business outcomes. We're talking about qualified leads generated, the acceleration of the sales cycle, or improvement in customer retention. That is the only language the finance department really cares about.
And that's how you prove the system's impact. So we have the performance data. We know what worked. How do we close the loop and make sure that intelligence gets folded back into the prompt system for improvement?
Through disciplined performance feedback loops. The analytics data has to be configured to automatically feed back into the AI system. This means user behavior, which sections were scrolled past, which CTAs were clicked, which search terms led to conversions, is used to iteratively refine future prompt recommendations. So improvements are based on actual proven user behavior, not just on theory.
This field is changing so fast. I mean, fundamentally, every single quarter. How do teams make sure this incredible, complex system they've built stays current and doesn't just become stale?
It requires scheduled, disciplined maintenance, often monthly or even bi-weekly. They hold regular prompt refinement sessions. They look at the content performance data. They identify what's working, the successful narrative angles, the structures, and they use those insights to update future prompts. And just as importantly, underperforming patterns get retired completely so they don't corrupt the knowledge base. And alongside that refinement, they employ a structured testing protocol. This is a systematic approach to experimentation where they rigorously test one single variable at a time.
One variable at a time seems painstakingly slow, especially given the velocity of AI output. Isn't there a tension there between the need for speed and the need for that kind of scientific rigor?
There is a massive tension. But without testing one variable, you can't scientifically determine which change actually drove the performance improvement. If you change 5 things at once and the output gets better, you have no idea why, which means you can't reliably reproduce it. Top teams will prioritize the certainty of the result over the immediate speed of the test.
Let's talk about the ethical dimension, which is really an operational requirement now. AI content can often default to, very homogenized ideas. How do teams make sure their content stays relevant and inclusive?
By proactively creating bias monitoring systems. This means regularly auditing and examining whether the AI-generated personas and content accurately reflect diverse market segments. Or if the outputs are inadvertently excluding important audiences through stereotype or just plain omission. It's a mandatory operational check. It's about market relevance and mitigating brand risk.
And finally, looking ahead, where does the content strategy go next?
They maintain a forward-looking future capabilities roadmap. Specific internal teams are tasked with monitoring emerging AI tech things like multimodal generation, advanced voice agents, or real-time personalization at the individual level. They're looking for specific, viable implementation opportunities for the content strategy. They're not waiting for the next big thing to happen. They are building the internal capacity to absorb it the moment it's ready.
That was a tremendous deep dive into the operational science behind advanced content generation. What we've learned is that successful AI content creation, it doesn't rely on finding one viral prompt. It relies on implementing a disciplined, five-part systematic framework, foundation crafting, workflows, measurement, and continuous improvement. It really does turn prompt engineering from a solo art project into a measurable, scalable business system.
Indeed. And if this entire system is designed for maximum speed and scale, from the ideation stack all the way to the content atomization engine, here is the challenge we'll leave you with. What is the most fragile part of this structure, and how do you ensure the human element, which is the necessary source of strategic validation and ethical oversight, how do you make sure that doesn't become the primary bottleneck in a system that's optimized entirely for velocity?
That essential tension between human strategy and machine speed. A powerful thought to consider as you build out your own frameworks. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We'll talk to you next time.